Sex should be a perfect balance of pain and pleasure. Without that symmetry, sex becomes a routine rather than an indulgence. We monsters are necessary to nature also. It is always by the way of pain one arrives at pleasure. Let us give ourselves indiscriminately to everything our passions suggest, and we will always be happy. Conscience is not the voice of nature, but only the voice of prejudice. One must do violence to the object of one's desire. When it surrenders, the pleasure is greater. In order to know virtue, we must first acquaint ourselves with vice. Conversation, like certain portions of the anatomy, always runs more smoothly when lubricated. We are no guiltier in following the primitive impulses that govern us than is the Nile for her floods, or the sea for her waves. Is it not of the imagination that the sharpest pleasures arise? Imperious, choleric, irascible, extreme in everything, with a dissolute imagination the like of which has never been seen, atheistic to the point of fanaticism. There you have me in a nutshell, and kill me again or take me as I am, for I shall not change. If it is the dirty element that gives pleasure to the act of lust, then the dirtier it is, the more pleasurable it is bound to be. You say that my way of thinking cannot be tolerated. What of it? The man who alters his way of thinking to suit others is a fool. My way of thinking is the result of my reflections. It is part of my inner being, the way I am made. I do not contradict them, and would not even if I wished to. For my system, which you disapprove of, is also my greatest comfort in life, the source of all my happiness. It means more to me than my life itself. I've already told you, the only way to a woman's heart is along the path of torment. I know none other as sure. How delightful are the pleasures of the imagination! In those delectable moments, the whole world is ours. Not a single creature resists us. We devastate the world. We repopulate it with new objects, which in turn we immolate. The means to every crime is ours, and we employ them all. We multiply the horror 100-fold. Either kill me or take me as I am, because I'll be damned if I'll ever change. Why do you complain of your fate when you could so easily change it? There are thorns everywhere, but along the path of vice, roses bloom above them. The man who alters his way of thinking to suit others is a fool. All universal moral principles are idle fancies. Your service will be arduous, it will be painful and rigorous, and the slightest delinquencies will be requited immediately with corporal and afflicting punishments. Hence, I must recommend to you prompt exactness, submissiveness, and total self-abnegation, that you be enabled to heed naught but our desires. Let them be your flaws. fly to do their bidding, anticipate them, cause them to be born. Lust, passion, will be served. It demands. It militates. It tyrannizes. The pleasure of the senses is always regulated in accordance with the imagination. Man can aspire to felicity only by serving all the whims of his imagination. Sex without pain is like food without taste. My manner of thinking, so you say, cannot be approved. Do you suppose I care? A poor fool indeed is he who adopts a manner of thinking to suit other people. My manner of thinking stems straight from my considered reflections. It holds with my existence, with the way I am made. It is not in my power to alter it, and were it, I'd not do so. Crime is the soul of lust. What would pleasure be if it were not accompanied by crime? It is not the object of debauchery that excites us, rather the idea of evil. Love is stronger than pride. Sex is as important as eating or drinking, and we ought to allow the one appetite to be satisfied with as little restraint or false modesty as the other. There is no more lively sensation than that of pain. Its impressions are certain and dependable. They never deceive, as may those of the pleasure women perpetually feign and almost never experience. My manner of thinking, so you say, cannot be approved. Do you suppose I care? A poor fool indeed is he who adopts a manner of thinking for others. What we are doing here is only the image of what we would like to do. Sexual pleasure is, I agree, a passion to which all others are subordinate, but in which they all unite. The completest submissiveness is your lot, and that is all. What does one want when engaged in the sexual act? That everything around you give you its utter attention, think only of you, care only for you. Every man wants to be a tyrant when he fornicates. One is never so dangerous when one has no shame than when one has grown too old to blush. She had already allowed her delectable lover to pluck that flower, which so different from the rose to which it is nevertheless sometimes compared, has not the same faculty of being reborn each spring. Happiness lies only in that which excites, and the only thing that excites is crime. Nature has endowed each of us with a capacity for kindly feelings. Let us not squander them on others. What is more immoral than war? No kind of sensation is keener and more active than that of pain. Its impressions are unmistakable. Between understanding and faith, immediate connections must subsist. It is not my mode of thought that has caused my misfortunes, but the mode of thought of others. The imagination is the spur of delights. All depends upon it. It is the mainspring of everything. Now, is it not by means of the imagination one knows joy, Is it not of the imagination that the sharpest pleasures arise? Lust is to the other passions what the nervous fluid is to life. It supports them all, lends strength to them all. Ambition, cruelty, avarice, revenge are all founded on lust. All enjoyment is weakened when shared. I assumed that everything must yield to me, that the entire universe had to flatter my whims, and that I had the right to satisfy them all. Now I beg of you to tell me whether I must love a human being simply because he exists or resembles me, and whether for those reasons alone I must suddenly prefer him to myself. It requires only two things to win credit for a miracle: a mountebank and a number of silly women. Variety, multiplicity are the two most powerful vehicles of lust. Let not your zeal to share your principles entice you beyond your borders. Sensual excess drives out pity in man.